Hi, I'm Jim Schooley, and this week on Cultural Connection, I'll be speaking with a photographer from Iowa, Gary Hoard. Well, congratulations on this show, and welcome to Arts on Grand.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. It's going to be a pleasure. It's a great gallery, and it appears that there's a great following for art in the Spencer area.
Yeah, well, this is a great show. There's a lot of really sharp color here, a lot of nature, so obviously you like to go outdoors.
I do. It's my favorite type of photography is nature. I've been interested in nature photography for a lot of years. Enjoy being outside.
Yeah, some great pictures. Some of these things people may never get to see it, like, you know, to this degree of focus and everything. But you know, these are the kind of things that I think people really enjoy having around.
Yeah, I try to, when I do shoot nature, I probably shoot in a little bit closer than maybe is needed on some, but I try to get a little bit different viewpoint, try to get something that people haven't seen, and
Yep.
that's kind of one of the goals, along with being out there with nature.
You find a subject and then you shoot everything you can get into that time frame and then go back later and sort through them all and pick out the best one.
Pretty much, yeah.
Which could be like 50 frames.
Sometimes it takes days to get the shots you're after, or longer even.
And then there's cropping. And
yeah.
So now when you get your picture back, you're looking on your computer probably at something that you've saved, and then you have to go in there and do you adjust it a little bit one way or another?
Really try not to do very much in the photo editing software. Really, if anything, it's maybe a little bit of an adjustment in light or a little sharpening or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
but and maybe some cropping at times. But I tend to try to shoot and try to get the shot that I want in the camera,
Right.
and really try to let it be that. Kind of like the old film days.
You do your editing with your finger.
Pretty much, yeah. Finger in the lens. So
There you
yeah.
go. So now, what kind of a camera do you like to use?
I use all Nikon equipment. I'm using a Nikon D810 right now, the digital, and kind of gone to the digital world when that became available, and still kind of miss the film days,
Yep.
but digital is really nice. It gives you a lot of flexibility. The equipment now is just keeps getting better and better all the time, and it's not quite to film yet, but it still is pretty darn good. And
Well, you never run out of frames because you reload your camera.
right,
So
that's the
good.
problem. One of the problems probably that forced me to go into the digital is that my wife was a little bit tired of the piles and piles of negatives and slides, and I have a trunk full of the old film style.
All those
So
film canisters.
it's a lot easier to
filling
store
up
on
the
a-
landfill.
right.
You know, your cameras are something that you know, you've had like collections. Is that right?
Right.
Your father was somebody that inspired you or brought you cameras and,
Definitely.
you know, just provided you with some kind of inspiration there? Is that part of your philosophy? It's something that you learned early on?
Definitely my interest came from a lot of that, with working and seeing the cameras and wanting to do that. And then the inspiration for the kind of photography I enjoy is really, well, the inspiration for photography is really through my dad and his interest in photography and cameras. And the nature part of it is really in my mom and the neighbors, that everyone was really interested in. We're really interested in gardening, so we did a lot of gardening, did a lot of camping together, and so spent a lot of time outdoors. And I think that's where I really got to really love nature, and so combined the two and made sense. And you want to have memories, and
I think that's, you know, something that, you know, we tend to do is that, you know, those things that, you know, provide us with the most, you know, positive feedback, and so it's probably a good way to start. You know, you see that example in your own family and carry it on. So.
right. The other thing I guess that I've done is that it's kind of like there's a bit of a thrill to like trying to get an image. So you have an animal or a bird that you really would like to get a photo of, and getting that, the challenge is, so it's kind of like a hunt. And I guess back when I was in my 20s and maybe early 30s, I did do actual hunting, and and I've kind of like given that up for the camera now. I don't really have any interest at all in using a gun to shoot an animal. I'd rather use the camera. And
Yep. Yep. Now, when you go to print, what's your method there? Do you print your own work?
I used to do some of that, but it was just a little bit more, it seemed more inconsistent. I didn't maybe have the highest quality printer, or I don't know if that was the issue, but anyways, a lot more hassle with ink cartridges, and also now we've identified a couple of good printers that we send the images to, and the quality has been just super consistent. We've had images that look as the same as they would have 20 years ago, and as far as color and all that, they match things perfectly. So
that's great. Well, and that frees you up to do what you're good at, which is take pictures.
I would rather do that.
Very good, very good. Now, as far as your work goes, I see you've got things in here. I take it some of this is for sale then?
Yep, it is all for sale.
Series of prints. Okay.
Yes.
Very good. Yeah, we always like that. I think people really like to come in here and contemplate, how something would, fit into their lifestyle. That's always a good choice to, we like to see. How about this show? Is this typical size? Are you typically taking out smaller or more pieces?
This is one of the largest I've done. I haven't really done that many exhibits. I've really kind of gotten into that. I just recently retired in January, so I have more time now to do.
Now you've taken up a whole new career.
Pretty much, yeah.
You're not retired after all.
Correct, yeah.
So what were you doing before?
I worked in ag research for like 42 years.
Okay. Ag research, wow.
Yeah, I worked for Pioneer Hybrid and did alfalfa breeding for about 30 years, and then switched over to corn and soybean research.
Interesting. Well, there's a lot of need for that, but not so exciting.
Not always.
Doesn't give you the opportunity to, show your creative side. Did they send you out to take pictures now and then at work?
They did. Yeah, so I did get to use the camera a bit at work too. So.
Neat.
Yeah.
Well, at least they recognize talent, right?
I hope so.
Well, these are great. I would hope that you would find the options of, doing some magazine illustrations and cover art and stuff like that for, possible book jackets and things. It would be hopefully something that people would approach you with.
Yeah, I have done a little bit outside of the nature side, but have done some work for for a couple of books for the state, really, for the state capitol, and just recently completed a project for a history of Terrace Hill, Governor's Mansion.
Neat.
So it's their 150th anniversary. So it was a really enjoyable. I got to try to match the images. So it's like a now and then kind of a deal. So I got to try to match the photos that were taken in
Location,
the 1890s.
Time of day.
Yeah, so take that same shot. So it was,
time of year.
Yeah.
That's great.
It's fun.
Interesting challenge. So now, was there a selection process for that? Did they come to you, or?
I was approached based on, actually I started from looking at some of my nature photos, and the original contact with the state capitol, and after that work was completed, then moved on to this other project that they thought that was a good move. So
okay. Yeah. So now, like, if somebody is asking you to do something, is that a possibility that you'd take on a commission of some kind?
I have done a couple, but
you'd rather be out there doing exactly what you.
I think at times it's more enjoyable to just be pretty free and just kind of shoot what happens. And
yeah, I can see that.
But challenges are fun too.
Yeah, well, I think you're right though. I think the discovery process is something that every artist enjoys. As opposed to being told, bring back a moose. But now you've got some wildlife in here that I take it. All of this is in and around Iowa, right?
Most of it is. There are a couple of images that are outside of Iowa, but I used to do more. I was limited on being able to travel because of my job, but we would always try to plan our summer vacations around kind of photography and nature, and so we would
working vacation.
Pretty much, yeah. But we try to go to national parks. That's really my favorite, is to have that wide open space. But haven't done much of that in the last few. Well, I haven't done any of that in the last few years. So I've really been more forced to really explore Iowa, and we really are lucky. There's so much green space in the state, whether it's the city green spaces, city, county, state parks, even your backyard. There's just tons of opportunities out there for wildlife viewing.
Yeah, I think people should definitely be thinking about getting their own picture, getting their own camera out there and trying that. Do you teach any classes?
I don't. I give pointers to people at times. There are people will ask, and I'll try to help them out a little bit. But.
Well, that's great. I'm really glad that you came down to show us your work here in Spencer. It's always exciting to see what local artists are up to, and we enjoy having a great photography show like this. You know, it's not something that we have all the time, is photography. So, Gary, thank you very much for bringing your work here.
Yeah, thank you very much for your time, and thanks to Spencer and Arts on Grand. It's really nice.
Absolutely. Well, you'll need to come on and check out all of the photography, and thanks for watching. I'm Jim Schooley, and this has been Cultural Connection. Till next week, keep it cool, Spencer.